Welcome to the Positive Energy Project. Today we sit down with one of Hollywood's hottest young stars, Patrick Schwarzenegger. Pat comes from a long line of positive energy people. His grandmother founded the Special Olympics and his grandfather founded the Peace Corps. Today he shares some of the altruistic lessons learned from his iconic mentors. Oh, welcome back, folks. We're live with the Positive Energy Project here in, where are we, Beverly Hills? West Hollywood?
We're in West Hollywood.
West Hollywood with the one and only Patrick Schwarzenegger. We're lucky to be here. We're lucky to call Patrick a friend, an investor. He's an actor. He's a supermodel. All around great guy.
Supermodel.
Building the future, creating the future, doing it with the people he enjoys to do it with. So, Pat, welcome to the show, man.
Thank you, man. Thank you for having us, or me, I should say.
Us, yeah, baby. Yeah, so let's get it started. I think we met you a little bit over 2 years ago now.
Yep.
How did you meet us? I think this is a cool story.
It is a cool story. I actually was sitting on my my couch in my living room, and we were watching Shark Tank, which is something that I watch religiously. And I believe that I was tuning in especially for this episode because one of my other companies, Every Table, was on the episode, and they had gotten an investment. And then I believe you guys were right after. And I was watching with my roommates and a few friends, and you guys did your spiel, your pitch, and you ended up not getting an investment. And right then and there, I said, you know what, I'm going to DM these guys, and I want to be part of their company because of your guys' kind of pitch, your energy, everything that you were selling, not just selling the product, but selling the whole idea of the kind of the positivity. And I DM'd you.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And I hit you up on Instagram. I don't know what that was like for you. You can say what that was like. But so I hit him up and I said, it'd be cool if we went back and get the message, if we bring it up in this podcast. But I think I just said, like, yo, I think I love your guys' vibe. I love your pitch. I love your energy. I love your determination to win. I want to come out and be part of this company, and we'll fucking kill it. And totally. I think you responded, and then it was like a few months of going kind of back and forth, and then I went to New York to go film in the beginning of that summer 2 years ago, and we made the deal, and it's been kind of a friendship ever since.
Yeah, man. Friendship, business relationship, and I think that's the cool thing, right? Is like you sort of bet on products, you bet on brands. What is your thesis for investing? Like what do you look for? Why do you invest, right?
Yeah, I mean, just like you said, I bet on products, I bet on brands, but more importantly, I bet on kind of the jockeys. I bet on the people behind the company, which was kind of the most attractive part about, this company. I always kind of tell people, it's funny that when we first met, your product was a little bit different than what it is today, right? I mean,
it was worse.
Yeah. I'm very transparent. We went to, and I was transparent with you guys when we had the first meeting. We went to, I think it was Ruby's Diner in New York, and you guys brought some of the coffee there, and we tried it and tested it, and it had that little like aftertaste. Yeah. Which at the time was the same thing, that little thing is what the judges did on the Shark Tank.
Yeah.
And we talked about it, and you guys told me how you were switching the formula and everything like that. But that was to kind of say more that it wasn't me buying into the product, it was to buying into you guys. Sure. And I remember so well that I was filming night shoots, which is, for people that don't know, is like a 5 p.m. to 7 a.m. work schedule. And you guys were the only other people that were texting me at fucking 5 a.m., 4 a.m. or whatever, which is totally my style. I love getting up early, and I love fucking grinding and working out early. And you guys were always sending messages that, bright and early in the morning, bringing the new products by, I think to my office, and then, not my office, my apartment down in New York. And then I came to your guys' offices in your apartment and had dinner with your dad and tried the new products, and we talked. And I remember I went around to a few different grocery stores that were selling your product, and they were saying, oh yeah, the brothers are coming in, and they set up big displays and sell. And I was like, yes, like that's exactly what I want. Yeah. And but that's kind of my thesis. I always look for, like, is this a brand? Is this a product that's sustainable? Is it something that is accessible in the price point to most of America? And at the time, Bulletproof was something that was getting extremely large with their whole keto diet and their brain coffee and everything, but it was too high of a price point, and the caloric information was too high for people like my girlfriend or some of my family members. And you guys had kind of revamped that whole thing of bringing the caloric information down, no sugar, L-theanine, the coffee, the cold brew, and I knew that it was going to be a winner.
Hell yeah.
That's awesome. No, yeah, and I just want to add on too. It was funny because we weren't expecting much from. I think from a brand perspective, obviously on Shark Tank, we thought it would help with awareness, right? But the the best thing that I think came out of it was obviously you hitting us up. And I remember talking to Jake and Jim. I was like, this would be amazing if we can get investment from Patrick and not have to deal with one of the sharks, but we can just work with Patrick to get the money that we were looking to raise. And to your point, like I think when we went on Shark Tank, it was funny. It filmed like a year before it aired, just about.
Oh, really?
And then your investment was probably 6 months after that. But back to your point about just investing in people, I think that we connected and we said like, look, yes, we understand the product's not great right now, but we already updated it from being on the show, and we're going to make another update by the time that you make the investment. So I think that was a super unique turning point in our company history, and then for you to even just believe in us and say, well, I'm going to bet on you guys to make that happen, and then go out and sell it.
Yeah.
So that was a pretty cool moment for us.
Of course, and I think that kind of goes back to so many people are like, when I watch Shark Tank, I'm always on my phone, like going through and looking up the founders and looking up the companies and everything. But, like people are always worried about the kind of like what ifs, if I message them and they don't answer, what's going to happen, or the kind of the power of direct messaging is huge. I know so many people that, I just did someone else's podcast just because they DM me and they sent like this whole paragraph about how some of the stuff on my Instagram was impacting them, and they just thought, what, screw it, I'm going to reach out and see what happens. And just sent this really nice note, and I was like, dude, just because you're hustling and you sent me this, like, I'm down to do it. I'll come and support you. I didn't know who the person was, but it just kind of shows that people that put in that extra effort, I think that you never know what's going to come out of it.
Totally, man. And I think for us, one of the cool things at first, before we knew you, when we see Schwarzenegger pop up in our DMs, we're like, holy shit, this is pretty cool, right? And I think most people probably know you as Arnold and Maria's son, but for us, we have a unique perspective where we know Arnold as Patrick's father, right? So, and
there it is.
Actually, though.
You listening, Arnold?
Dad, if you listen to that, he's going to screw you. He's going to kick your ass.
Just kidding. No, but in all seriousness, you're building your own name, you're building your own legacy, and you're sort of carrying on traditions from two amazing families. What do you want that legacy to be, right? Like, what type of future do you want to create?
Yeah, it's kind of hard. If you asked me that question a year or two ago, I think it'd be a lot different than it is today. I think that a lot of what was driving me to go and work so hard or continue to wake up really early, to invest, to do the acting, to do the modeling, to do so many different angles, have the pizza shops and run those, is like I always was worried about being kind of trumped by my family's kind of legacy, worrying about making my own path and not being under my parents' shadows and not being known as Arnold or Maria's son and everything like that. And then at some point in the last years, I kind of realized that, I would say the last year mostly, that it was going to be a unfulfilling journey of always trying to get to that, because it's impossible to really convince everybody out there that I'm my own person, without the help of my family. And I'm very open that I wouldn't be anywhere today without my family, from my dad kind of mentoring me with business to the first financial loan he gave me to invest in Blaze Pizza, which was at the time I would have never been able to afford as a 16-year-old, that ended up turning into millions. But it was like, without that help, I would not be where I am today. And I just knew that if I was always trying to convince people, hey, I'm my own person. Hey, I'm look at me, I'm being successful on my own. Hey, look at me, I'm working out really early, and you're not. It was just like a never-ending cycle. And now I just want to be, really happy, help companies grow, create jobs, make money through that. But it's ultimately to help kind of other people accomplish their dreams. And that's why I like to focus in early stage startups, early companies, and use the kind of position that I'm in with my capital situation and our connections as Patrick, but as a family as a whole, to kind of help these companies grow. And that's kind of the legacy that I want to build, and just kind of helping other people and give them the helping hand that I had as I started my business kind of career.
That's amazing.
Yeah. With that, so you talk about, one, the investing piece, and I think that's what we'll probably talk about a lot today, but then acting,
right,
modeling, just being involved, and you have a lot of touch points. How do you prioritize and focus your time, and also where do you enjoy spending your time the most across all the platforms that you're touching?
I would say I enjoy the most with the businesses. I think that business has a really good correlation of the amount of work you put in, the reward output you get in return. With acting, I love acting, but it's so much of it is involved with kind of the hierarchy, or someone else telling you that you get the job or you don't. Yeah. It's a lot of a waiting game, and that's one of the biggest problems that a lot of struggling actors have, or aspiring actors have, is that people always wait to kind of wait for a role or wait for someone else to give them that ability to go and show them what they can do. And business, you can't wait around, right?
Yeah, exactly.
If you wait, then the company's, it's done. And that's kind of what I love about business. Is just it's a grind 24/7, and if you're putting in that extra work, you're going to see that extra reward. And I think as managing time, again, like the acting, I could work every day from October through December, and then I could not work every single day till July or something. I don't know, 6 months of not doing anything. So if I, one, didn't have something else that I was passionate about and really loved to do, it would drive me crazy. And two, it's just, I love business. Yeah. I love watching companies go from something that's small and really watching how it kind of grows and builds.
That's fun.
You just made all that kind of sound easy though. Like I remember last like Q3, Q4, you were launching Daniel Isn't Real, was getting ready to launch.
Yeah.
You had just done the major Calvin Klein ad.
Yeah.
And you had just done like 3 or 4 new investments, and a couple of your portfolio companies were doing really well, and you're really involved. Right?
Right.
Came to a couple trade shows with us.
Yeah. So like, how do you actually balance? Like where do the priorities come in, and like, what are some tips, I guess, for how you prioritize your time?
Yeah, I mean, my dad always taught us when we were kind of young was like having a ritual, and like so many people get hung up on the idea of the one day that they say, you know what, I'll push it off till tomorrow is when they get kind of screwed. Never push off till tomorrow what you can accomplish today. He would always tell us. And having that kind of morning ritual of waking up at 5, being at the gym, working out 6 to 7, taking care of all of your personal care stuff of working out, getting your little mocha foca frappuccino thing, or your super coffee now, but doing that or doing your morning walk or reading the paper or all that stuff, get that all done by the time the average Joe is waking up for his normal job, so that you can, when you've done all of that stuff, you're ready to go to the normal work day, or you can go do whatever it is that you're wanting to do. And I've really adapted that, and it's kind of amazing all the things that you can accomplish before someone else is awake, and you guys know that more than anybody else. So I think that look, we all have the same 24 hours that I have the same that you do, or that Gandhi or JFK or Nelson Mandela or whoever, and certain people accomplish certain things. And some of it is luck, but a lot of it is kind of the time management and the hard work. And so it really does come down to the time management and what are your priorities. I'm not someone that spends an hour or whatever on video. I don't have any video games. I don't watch the TV. I don't, it's really,
Except Shark Tank.
Except Shark Tank. It's really just like, working out, going to work, and I'm in bed by 10 p.m. on the weekdays. It's pretty lame, but it keeps me accountable for the next day, that I can get up early. And I think it's just all about how you plan out your day and strategize.
Yeah. And I want to go back to something real quick, because I think this is going to be helpful for people listening. But you talked about helping others, and that really being like your motivation, your force. Because it's easy, especially for younger generation. I know, I was in high school and college not too long ago. Same for all of us. It's easy to just see people who are rich and famous and say, I want to be like them because they're rich and famous.
Right.
But that's not usually the case with most people who are rich and famous. It's not because they wanted to be rich and famous, but it's because they're doing something greater than themselves. So can you talk about that, maybe how your family, because I know Maria is amazing on even Instagram. She uses that platform to help others. Can you talk about how that's trickled down through your family and then how you've embraced that?
Yeah, I think that kind of started with my grandma and my grandfather. My grandmother started the Special Olympics, and my grandfather started the Peace Corps. And their whole thing was, their parents, my grandmother's father was extremely wealthy and was kind of one of the first large businessmen in America. He was kind of the epitome of the American dream. And he always told his kids that, look, I'm financially stable. I'm going to make you guys financially stable, but I want you guys to give back and find ways to help the other people that aren't as fortunate. And obviously one of them became president, another 2 became senator, another one ran for president, unfortunately, died during that. But it was always about giving back and being a public servant and helping others. And so I think that got passed down to my mom and in turn my dad, because he was with my mom. And my dad started the Arnold's After School Initiative, and my mom's on the Alzheimer's Association board. And my dad was always saying that kind of like as his career built, it was always like, yeah, it was great to make $50 million. Yeah, it's great to make 100. Yeah, it's great to be a movie star and everything like that. But it's like, then what's next? And it's, okay, now as my platform's getting bigger and bigger, what can I do with that to help other people? And that's what's the most fulfilling. And he felt that it was to, for the after school initiatives, it was to run for governor and not take any pay for that, and to try to help the other people of this great state that he came to love and was successful in. And it's kind of been passed down to me, and of course I do charitable work with. I love helping out kind of the people that serve our country the most, the veterans, and then as well as the entrepreneurialism is it's not a charity thing, but it's something that I'm passionate about, of helping kind of other young entrepreneurs getting off the ground and getting the capital and getting some help, getting the mentorship and everything to be able to succeed as best as they can. And for me, that's just it's fun, and it's helping the economy, it's helping grow jobs, and in turn it's also making money. So
and it's also something you're passionate about.
Yeah, exactly.
Really
And that's the biggest thing. It's like, if you're really passionate about something like you guys are, then you can't wait to wake up every single morning and get better and better each and every day, and get closer and closer towards that goal that you have with this company. And it's just fun.
Yeah,
and
totally.
I think from the outside looking in, people see the billboards, right? They see the movies, they see the Shark Tank. Like, life looks really good, but they don't see the road bumps, the obstacles along the way. And I mean, you just had shoulder surgery not long ago, a couple months ago. What has that been like? That took you out of the game.
Yeah, just over a month ago.
Give the people a salute.
I can now get it up to here. My physical therapist will be very happy with this. But yeah, it's just like you said, that everyone sees the Instagram highlight reel, everyone sees the billboard, everyone sees when the movie comes out. No one sees kind of the work that's put in, before that. I mean, I think now I've had so many people in the investor community, in the consumer product space, and the food and beverage that are like, oh my God, you're part of Super Coffee, they're crushing it now, and everything like that. Like, that's awesome. I want to get involved. How can I get involved? Blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, it's just amazing to see that everyone sees it now, but no one knows about all those days. I mean, pretty much every day that you guys wake up at 4:35, that are just grinding in the gym, that are grinding going to every single little convenience store, dropping off your product, starting from a dorm room to now however many doors open. It's no one sees that. No one sees what happens if I don't get my next investment, what happens if someone doesn't believe in me, all those different things. They always see kind of the highlight reel. And I think with my shoulder separately, it's what happened was, and I did a video of this on Instagram, was that, like, with the shoulder surgery, it totally destroyed my morning ritual. I couldn't go to the gym anymore. And then when that kind of happens, you're like, why even eat healthy anymore? I'll just screw it. I'll just give me the ice cream. Everything's falling out of control. And it just kind of like cramped the morning routine, which then had a kind of a trickle down effect to the rest of the day. And so much of my days, my life are the rest of the day is kind of shaped by my morning ritual. And after a few weeks of like not doing that and sleeping in and not doing the whole workout stuff, it just was driving me nuts. And it still is, but it's kind of changed. And I was just like, okay, I need to go back to my kind of goals board, which I'm a huge believer in really writing them out. If you go in my bedroom here, you'll see my big whiteboards next to my bed of my goals. And I was just like, okay, what are the other things that I really want to accomplish this year? What are the things that I want to work on? What are my personal development side that I really wanted to focus on this year? And how can I put some extra time into those, although I can't work at all on my physical side, right? I can't get in better shape. I can't, have that six pack. I can't wake up early doing that. So then I just started to wake up early, and I would go on a walk and listen to some podcasts. I started a book club, and I have no idea what a book club really is. I've never been in a book club. And I started a book club just so that people would hold me accountable to start reading more, right? And so we had our first meeting last month, and we did this book called The Infinite Game by Simon Sinek. And, I just was like, in school, I was not a big reader. I hated when they assigned books and said, you have to have this done. And it was something I wasn't enjoying. And then now with these kind of personal development books or motivational or business, where you're really learning from the best, I can zip through it. And then you kind of have these conversations at a table with 10 other people, no phones or anything, and you're just talking about the book and what they think and what I think. It's like it's been an amazing experience so far, and something I never would have really done if I didn't have the injury or if I didn't create a book club. So it's been like a kind of a learning experience of what else I can do or what else can I work on for myself. But it definitely dampened my mood and my positivity and outlook on things for a little while. And I think it's one thing to kind of recognize that, and it's another thing to kind of switch it, and how do I get out of it? And that's like a thing that I think a lot of people struggle with. And when I posted that video, I'd gotten thousands of DMs and comments from people saying like, oh man, like finally someone that says that they're, you know, not just a highlight reel on Instagram, but they're actually saying like that they're in a slump too, mentally and physically. Like, you have no idea, I've been in the worst slump, this. And it's just like, it's pretty awesome to see. It's not awesome that they're all in slumps, but it's awesome to see other people gravitating towards that kind of message and realizing that in themselves and finding a way to get out of it.
Yeah. The obstacle is the way there.
That's right, man. What stands in the way becomes the way, right? And for us, that's interesting, right? They have this marketing. There's like a marketing concept called the pratfall effect, and like you said, people sort of see through what the pratfall effect is. Like, highly curated content is fake, right? And people see through these curated things. People like this sort of I guess humble or modest approach where they can relate to you. You know, it's humanizing.
Yeah.
So I think one of the things, sort of building off of that, like how important is it to you to sort of break down that barrier of celebrity, of famous family, and really get to know people to elevate their goals and their mission?
I think even going deeper, we talked with Baron Davis. We did All-Star Weekend with Baron Davis, did this first episode of the podcast. And we talked about athletes and celebrities like trying to put up this wall almost to distance themselves, and like this idea of vulnerability.
Right. And
I think like the more of a platform you have, or the more removed from regular society, folks want to not be vulnerable.
Right.
And Baron talked about doing things like getting internships while he was an all-star guard. You know,
Right.
And, I think that's what makes Baron super successful and special, is that he was willing to be vulnerable.
I think a lot of it is like the humility side, and it's an ego check.
Yeah.
I think is a big part of it. Like, you know, my ego, I mean, I have an ego with certain things, I would say, and then there's other things that I don't care at all what other people, you know, think of me in a certain sense. You know, and I think that it's a big thing with celebrities, with non-celebrities, with anybody, is they put so much value on other people's judgment of themselves, right? They really pay attention to all that, and that's with Instagram. Oh shit, should I post this? Should I not? Will I get this many likes? Will I not? You know, and people say that to me. They're like, dude, aren't you an actor? Like, aren't you a model? Why are you posting stuff about business now? Like, what's going on? Like, you can't do that. Like, that's so weird. And then another person's like, wait, let me get this right. You're a businessman. You're an actor, and you're doing some modeling work. Like, aren't those not together at all? Like, you can't do all those things. And I'm like, yeah, you can. You can do whatever you want. And that's for the kind of the listeners out there. It's like, whatever you want to do, and that's the greatest thing about America, that's the greatest thing about this country, is whatever you want to do, whatever you have your eyes set on, whatever your goals are, whatever your passions are, you have the ability to do it. I'm not saying it's going to, you know, be a rosy, you know, path to getting there. I'm not saying that it's going to be easy or that it's going to happen overnight. But it's possible to get there, just like you had the dream of creating the largest coffee company in the world, and you're on that path now. But the first days weren't easy. Going out of the dorm room wasn't easy. But same thing with, like, I always had internships growing up as well. I mean, that's how I found out about Blaze Pizza. Was I was working at a desk job, a check-in desk for a producer named John Davis, and Rick Wetzel, who started Wetzel's Pretzels and sold it with that guy, came in to pitch the idea of Blaze Pizza, and I was an assistant at the time, and doing coverage on scripts and stuff, and he let me sit in on the meeting, and I loved the idea, and I was like, dude, I want to invest in this. And then same with at our pizza shops, making people the pizzas, or at the gym, you know, wiping up the floor. I don't give a fuck about if someone else sees me wiping up the floor, making their smoothie or something like that. They take a photo of me making their smoothie, thinking it's funny. I was like, dude, it doesn't matter to me. My ego isn't big enough to think that, you know, I'm embarrassed by something like that. I mean, that's the only way I'll learn the ins and outs of the business, really. I don't even know if I'm answering your question.
No. You just went into another topic that we always talk about. So you were working, you're 16 years old, you took an internship within the film world, right? What was that internship?
Yeah, it was a film world, yeah. He's a producer.
Yep, and you were sitting on a desk where the opportunity for Blaze Pizza came up for an investment.
Right.
But not for you, obviously. You're a 16-year-old kid. And obviously Blaze was now one of your big stepping stones into the world of investing.
Yeah.
Wildly successful, which we can talk about in a minute. But you were just making yourself vulnerable. You didn't need to probably have a job at 16, Patrick Schwarzenegger, right? Like you don't, that's the last place you need, but it was making yourself vulnerable. You just wanted to get engaged in the community.
Yeah.
Or in your body of work, I guess, your industry of work. Which one thing that we always talk about is the more you sweat, the luckier you get, or going out and creating your own luck.
Right. Creating your own luck. I mean, my dad always says you can't climb the ladder of success with your hands in your fucking pocket.
Yeah.
Like, how are you going to get up there? And that's kind of a big thing, is he's always drilled that into us kids. Like, you better work. You better find what your kind of passion is. You better do all the work. I'm not here to give you a hand-me-out, a freebie. Like, he's, you have to remember, he's from Austria. He's from a family that was very kind of hardcore, and he had to sneak out of the military to go use the gym, and got someone to pay for him to get over to America and fulfill his dreams. And so he did it the real hard way of rags to riches, and he believes in other people helping each other. He's always for a helping hand, but he by no means is interested in giving you kind of a freebie or a handout of saying, like, here, with anything, with work, with money, with whatever that is. And I think that's kind of tuned me in a certain way. And he's done that with everything from cleaning up our rooms to being, certain amount, only 5-minute showers, or else the hot water's cut off. Don't let the water running. Don't keep the lights off. If you don't make your bed, the bed's thrown over the balcony. All these different things. Of like,
Bed's thrown over the balcony.
It's like, it's all about that kind of, you have to do your work. Someone else isn't going to do it for you. And so I've always been interested in, and also the first-hand experiences are the best way to learn.
Totally.
Right?
Totally.
Whether that's with my internships during high school. Of course, I didn't need to get an internship, but I almost wanted to. I wanted to learn, how does this guy produce? How does this guy invest? And it paid off, in a large way. Not only did I make a lot of money with Blaze, but I learned an insane amount about business and business operations from the start of the first dollar going into Blaze to then actually opening up my own 2 franchises, one which was at USC where I went to school, and just learning about, everything from the food costs and how the food gets there and what happens if it's out for too long till it spoils, and how does that affect your kind of your EBITDA at the end of the day, and all these different little things that I would have never learned in school, or they can put it on a whiteboard, but you don't really digest it.
Totally.
And yeah.
That's cool. I just want to go a little bit deeper there too. Talk about just your willingness to be open-minded and just kind of learning as you go. I think a lot of people are afraid about that. And there's like centuries-old quote, if you walk the path will appear. Because as you go, you're learning. But if everybody said, like, I'm not going to do that because I don't know anything about it and I'm scared of failure.
Right.
So talk about just how much you've learned in the past 10 years, and just being willing to learn more. Like the book club is an amazing thing.
Right.
But surrounding yourself with advisors and mentors.
Yeah.
Talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, I think 2 things, 2 kind of whispers from massive, they're not my mentors at all, but they're the top in their fields. Was one time when I was about 13 and I had my first company called Project 360, which sold bracelets and clothing, accessories, which I sold off. I was 13 at a women's convention in Long Beach, and I was selling them, me and my friend. And what we did was we went to the pillow store, the mattress store, and we would get their covers, their cases for the pillows that were already on the beds that they didn't need, that were clear. Yep. And we'd put the items in the clear cases, and we would go and sell them so that people can see through it and see what it was. And we were making so much money in a few days at these conventions. And I saw Warren Buffett there, and he said the number one, words of advice I can give you is continue to do business at a young age. It's the best way to learn. Yep. Is when you start young and you can learn first-handedly. And then another person, Tony Robbins, told me that success leaves clues, it leaves a trail. And when you learn from the best, it's the best way to learn. What did those people do to get to where they are? And like kind of a mix of those things is what I've always adapted, of always trying to learn business and be part of businesses from 13. My dad put me in charge of his memorabilia when I was just around that age of a teenager.
That's epic.
And then, it was great. And it was all for charity, but learning how to buy the t-shirts, the wholesale, the retail, putting printing the images on, all these different things. And then the success leaves clues part of just like, how do I reach out to other people that are smarter than me, that are better than me, that have been in the industry, that know things, and they can give me some words of advice, right? Totally. And that's from reading, that's from just hitting people up, that's from listening to podcasts, that's from watching shows, that's from being in the workplace with other people. It's the best way to learn. And I think a lot of people are afraid to kind of do that because, again, going back to their ego and going back to the idea of the fear of failure. And I think Tony also said this is like, how do you flip the idea of the fear of failure onto its other side? And it's like, so instead of me saying, okay, with this coffee company, I'm so like, shit, what happens if I fail? What happens if I do this and it doesn't work? What are people going to think of me? And then you flip it to the other side. Okay, what happens if I don't even go and start it? What happens if I don't go and try it? And the fear of that, for me, outweighs the fear of the failing, right?
Yeah.
And that's like a big thing of what I always try to tell people is if you want it that bad, if you're really that passionate and you want this company to succeed, or you have an idea to go write this script or whatever, like there should be more fear in you not going out and trying it or doing it than if you fail. And the worst case is you do fail, you're back to where you were, you learn from it, you change things, and you go back out and you try it again, and you work and you become a better and a different person. And it's never really a failure unless you keep doing the same thing over and over again, like Einstein said. But it's a kind of a mistake. And if you learn from it and you grow and you get better, then it's
that's what McGregor said. You don't win or lose. You win and you learn.
right.
Yeah.
We're gonna send this thing home now. You've been doing a lot of motivational speaking. You just dropped some great bits
Knowledge
of knowledge
bombs.
here,
That's
some knowledge
right.
bombs,
Some principles.
You've had some amazing mentors.
That's my one arm is
along
way
the
higher
way.
than the other.
And again, this is the Positive Energy Project. So for those of you out there, we want you to leave with something that you can apply in your everyday life. So, Pat, one of the things that stood out to us, going back to December, you talk about separation season. So we're going to give you the mic right now to close this thing off.
Oh, boy.
You got you have an audience and
A classic Patrick Schwarzenegger monologue.
Oh, I'm excited. I got chills. My arms, the hair on the arm.
Keep going. What do you got?
Yeah. So no
So
pressure.
what about separation season? Explaining that kind of why I did that or what that is to
I think
people.
what's the difference? So a lot of people are average, right? Most people are average, which allows certain people to be great. And I mean, you've been surrounded by great people your whole life. You're building a great life yourself. What does it take to do that, right? And
Right.
a lot of people, the people who watch this, don't want to be average.
Right.
You know? So what do they need to do to rise above the crowd?
Yeah, I think that a lot of people are always listening to these things, these podcasts, reading the books, listening to other people, and it's the difference of who's listening and then who's taking this information and then taking action, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I think that very few % of these people will actually go up and hit me up on Instagram and DM saying that I listened to your podcast, I love this, hey, do you have any words of advice? Yeah. Or hit you guys up and say, hey, look, man, I can't afford to go to college, I can't do this, but I'm telling you, I'm the hardest worker. I'll make sure that your coffee is delivered to every single place, this and this. Please give me a chance to come and intern for you guys. You know, it's the difference of those little things of who's actually going to put in that work or take the first step to doing that work. And separation season was a video I did that was based on the month of December, which was like everybody that I knew in LA just totally went out into like potato mode and just didn't want to do anything. They wanted to just wait till January because that's when their goals were refocused and they would get the momentum into the new year and it would last for a few weeks and then they would go back to doing their regular shtick, right? And when I was talking to my mentor about that, Ed Milet, he brought up the idea of that December is his favorite month because it separates those people that are the average Joes that are content just surviving from the people that really want to go out and conquer and that really want to win. And use December as a month to gain the momentum into January so that you're blowing past everybody else. How do you use December, which so many people are taking as a whole month off instead of just the holidays? How do you use that time to get ahead? How do you use that time to really just learn more, to get more sales, to do whatever? And my dad would always mess with me with this when I was in college, and I'd be like, sometimes I'd be hungover with him or whatever, and he goes, remember, last night while you were out there drinking, someone else was in the library getting smarter and getting a better grade than you. Someone else was starting their business idea while you were out partying. And I would always be like, okay, thanks. Way to make my hangover that much worse or something like that. But it was true. It's like when you're not doing the work, someone else that is willing to and wants it that bad is going to do the work. Totally. And I think for all you guys that are listening is, take that leap of faith. If you don't take it right now, you never will. Never push off to tomorrow what you can accomplish today or what you can go and try to do today. And, I don't enjoy waking up at 5 a.m. every day. I'm sure you guys don't either. I don't love going in the gym for an hour and a half versus does 30 minutes sound better? Sure. All those different things. But it's like when you push yourself and you show your mind and your body that you're capable of getting there, it relates to other parts of your life. And it shows that you're capable of doing way more than what your mind or your body tells you that you are. And that's kind of the beautiful thing that I think about separation season is once you take that first leap, once you take that first step and you're showing yourself that you can do it, then the rest is possible in history.
Man, that is epic.
Oh,
That is like
stuff,
the Kobe Bryant quote that getting the dream isn't becoming Patrick Schwarzenegger, having the Calvin Klein
The journey.
ads. It's a journey. And
Yeah.
the dream is when you don't want to wake up at 5 a.m. or you don't want to put in that extra time.
Right.
That when you're doing it.
Right.
That's the dream.
Yeah, and the feeling of accomplishing those things is like, I mean,
Amazing.
there's no better feeling, right?
Nothing better in the world.
That's what he says. Kobe's like, look, if you do that, you won't achieve your dreams. You'll achieve something greater.
Right.
Yeah.
And your dreams won't come true. Something greater will. So, he's Patrick Schwarzenegger. We're the
Follow him.
Chico Brothers. This is the Positive Energy Project.
Let's go.
Thank you.
Super
Pat,
coffee.
Thanks so much, brother.